Hi, Megan. I haven't signed this on that either.
Well, it has to be you because you got 2 minutes.
How are you?
Welcome to St. John's. Welcome to the celebration of Paula and Dennis's 50-year ministry. I'm going to interrupt myself with something that's not on the agenda, but it's important that we know we kind of have a pop-up ministry situation. Not very well promoted, so this is it. Pay attention. If you have time this coming weekend to work on a Habitat house with our friends from Park Road Baptist and some from Myers Park Baptist, it will be in Western North Carolina. And you should see an email coming from the church office early this week with details, but I'm putting that on your radar. You can come as early as Wednesday night. You can work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any one of those days. And it's really exciting. I love it when things happen spontaneously, and this is one of those times. Thank you, Kurt and Jeff Levine. All right, back to the agenda. We want to acknowledge first the hard work. Am I being too loud, or can y'all hear me? Just right. All right. Right to the mic, man. I want to acknowledge the hard work of the transition team. They've been at it since January. James Laney, Alice Works, Lynn Bishop, Stephen Follis, and Pauline and Steve Carter. Thank y'all for all you've been doing. And also for today, the helping hands of Kim Allen, Judy Godsey, Bobby Henson, Ming Calloway, and Kim Ray. Thank you also to David Urban for his surprise and creative contribution, and for Stan Brown's work, which you'll hear about in a little bit. But I also want to give a little hip hip hooray here for Amanda Morrison and Pauline, who especially the two of them made today happen. So on count of three, let's hear hip hip hooray. 1, 2, 3. Hip hooray! All right. As always, love on our staff. First, I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm kind of tempted to ask Dennis to retire every Sunday for the next couple of years. Especially if we can eat like this. But also, I want to welcome especially Dennis and Paul's friends and family. It's quite a list, so you'll have to, when you're well loved, people they just come. So here we are. And Caleb's not here yet, but when you see Caleb rush in, he's finishing up worship at Park Road Baptist, where he is the pastor there. So he'll be here soon. It's embarrassing when you see him. Is Nathan here? Okay, Nathan, maybe. Nathan, is that Nathan? Nathan? Hey, Nathan. Nathan's here. Nathan lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We have David and Rachel Camella from Tampa, Florida. Caleb, when he gets here, his wife Mary Beth, and their children Ava and Eleanor. Of course, here in Charlotte. Wonderful to be here. Their plans coalesced after Dennis and Paul plan to move away. Things happen. We have Dennis's sister Carol Smith and her husband Steve. And they have stories they could tell, but they promised they wouldn't. We have Lacey, Taylor, and Raylan's the grandchild. So Raylan's waving right now, holding up her hand, so that's good. Dan and Linda Sheffield, Paula's sister, that's Linda. Okay, great to have you here. You can tell that's Paula's sister. There are also some wonderful friends here. The Dick and Priscilla Tamel. Did I miss someone? Hey!
I'm the middle child. I'm always this.
Paul put you on the list. I want you to know that. It was just me.
And I will tell stories for a price.
Okay. Bring him some banana pudding. Dick and Priscilla Tamela, the fellow in-laws, parents of your son on date. Okay, good. All right, from Talmadge, Ohio. Good to have you all here. All right, we've got churches represented. Before I go into that, we also have Mike and Raylene from Richmond, Virginia. Mike and Raylene Harton. Dennis is major professor. So what was your major? Practical Ministries at Southern Seminary, Louisville, Kentucky. So great to have you all here. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the ways in which you led Dennis to become the man he is and the preacher he is, and pastor. We also have friends from First Baptist Church Chattanooga. Go Vols. Okay. We got second Ponce de Leon, Atlanta. Go Dogs. No? Okay. Grambling Wreck, all right. And we got Shades Crest in Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, this game is Auburn. No, I'm not going to go there. And also from Kirkwood Baptist Church in St. Louis, Missouri. So we have got it covered. And it's just a reminder of how far God's reach is through the leadership and pastoral care of this couple. Thank you all for being here with us and celebrating Dennis and Paula. I was asked to give a blessing, but y'all can hear a lot of words. So I thought it'd be more fun to do it, one of our family traditions, maybe yours too, and sing the Johnny Appleseed blessing. And why I like that was Johnny Appleseed's a Midwestern who went around spreading stories of hope, love, and joy and planting apple trees and planting seeds. And Dennis has done the same all over our country, and I'm sure you are too, that those seeds planted will bear fruit for generations. So, raise your hand if you know the Johnny Appleseed blessing. All right, 20%. That's what I'm afraid. All right, I need a little help here. Janet Wade and Kathy Bragg, y'all. All right, here's my mom. Here comes Janet. Okay, we're going to sing it through just the first verse, all right? Don't get carried away. Sing it through one time. This is an open eye blessing. Smiles on your face. There's some cards on the table. Some of y'all may need lyrics, but you're going to have to fight for them because I miscounted in the printing. But we're going to sing this smiling, and we're going to belt it if we can, especially the amen. So, Janet. We're going to follow Janet. Yeah.
Oh, Lord's been good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and rain and the apple seed. The Lord's been good to me.
We're going to do it one more time. This time y'all all know it now, right? We ought to give thanks for the air conditioning too. That's one thing we don't take for granted in this church. All right. Yeah, I think we're actually ready for old David Allen. Ready for last week. Woo!
Dennis just told Ken to be a follower of Jesus. That's certainly better than being a follower of Kathy Bragg. Nobody should ever have to follow Kathy. Much happier to follow her Phillips. Phillips demonstrated one of the problems of being a pastor. I'm sure of that. Phillips demonstrated one of the occupational hazards of being a pastor already here once tonight because he said, well, I'm really sorry that Nathan couldn't be here today. And of course, Dennis called Nathan out during the service, but I Phillips was asleep. He was behind me. I had to punch him to wake him up. Ken, what are we doing now?
Well, good afternoon, St. John's. I know everybody's happy to be here. It's a pleasure for me to be here and say hello to Lee Gray. We're here to celebrate his ministry in 50 years. I can't tell you how much work. Oh, I got late. I'm sorry. Well, okay. Lee, it seems like you've been here 50 years. So we'll make this all about Dennis and the call. How's that?
Well, that's fine, and I got to tell you, Dennis, things begin to change pretty quickly when you retire. And why they asked me and Ken to do this, we're probably the oldest guys in here, along with you who have not yet retired, but they told us to try to do this about some retirement stuff, and things do change when you get to be retired, at least I'm told. You'll have a lot more time to spend doing various things that you want, and you're also likely to start seeing a lot of guys who are ologists. This is what's going to happen to you now. You're going to begin to see lots of ologists. You're going to see right off the bat the gerontologists. That's
Don't forget the dermatologist.
and of course the rheumatologists.
And don't forget the audiologist.
And
I said it, the audiologist.
and of course the endocrinologists will be hanging around there.
The neurologist has got to be right up here at the top, baby.
And not quite so close to the top would be the gastroenterologist. I'm sure that you'll be visiting with him as well.
And then the urologist.
Sadly, you've already seen the cardiologist, but you'll also perhaps have to go see, at the end, the proctologist. So it does sort of come full circle for us like that. We had to keep things brief and moving because everybody wants to get out of here pretty quickly today. So we're going to recognize with little ado the other speakers who are going to be here. But you're not through with us yet, of course. Don't worry. We'll have a good bit more to say as the day goes on, or the evening goes on. So. Now we're going to. I think the next presentation, or the first presentation we're going to have, is from Teresa. So if all of the honorees would come down, go ahead, Teresa.
Dennis, when I was invited to share a few words and also present you with a gift, I tried to think of stories, and I have many, but I went back to a story that was very meaningful to me from when I was a church member years ago and when my son was in children's ministry. And I think I can get through this without crying. Hopefully I cried this morning. The calendar read spring, but the chilly gray skies that hung in the air and the barrenness of the trees said otherwise. My soul did too. The call came at the right time. And friends, Dennis has a way of doing that, doesn't he? He always calls at the right time. When my pastor called me on that day in early spring, and he asked me how I was, I did not hold back. Less than 3 months before Dennis called me, I had followed an ambulance from my home to the ER in Shelby. It was the 3rd trip in 4 days to that same ER. It would be my final trip. In the hours that soon followed, I would be pulled aside into a dimly lit hallway by a hospitalist. And he would ask me one harrowing question. When your mother's heart stops beating, what do you want me to do? For months, I had watched my mother's body slowly and painfully begin to shut down. And I remembered a conversation that she and I had had a few weeks earlier. So I knew what her wishes for end of life were. So when my eyes returned from looking at my mother to the hospitalist, I knew what I had to tell him. 24 hours later, my mother died. So how was I doing the day that Dennis Foust called me? I was horrible. The guilt, questions, uncertainty, and grief that I had carried, it was all enormous. And I desperately needed shalom. I desperately needed a glimpse of resurrection power. And Dennis listened. And when words stopped tumbling off my lips, there was silence. And then he spoke the tenderness that is truly Dr. Dennis Foust. And I will never forget what he said to me. And I have shared these words with others. Carissa, any decision made in love is a good decision. I will always remember what he said. In the sacredness of that moment, in my office at Gardner-Webb University, shalom slipped into my soul, and my eyes caught a glimpse of resurrection power, which is exactly what I needed that day. 12 years and a few months later, I was sitting in another office, this one at St. John's Baptist Church, and I was poring over little notes that children and their families had prepared and looking at all of their pictures. And I began to smile and I cried a little bit. Because the pastor whose words spoke shalom and resurrection power into my life had spoken these same words into the lives of these families. The Reddings, the Harmons, the Cushmans, the Millers, the Norrises. The list goes on and on. Dennis, you listen to the Spirit and you follow it as you walk with us along this road of life. You embody the presence of Christ. You hold the Christ light for us when we cannot carry it for ourselves, much less see it. And you love us. You deeply love us. And we hope, the children of this church, that our gift brings shalom and resurrection power just as the gift of your presence has to us. I think I speak for all of the children in our families. We love you, we will miss you, and our lives are better because they have been touched by you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great honor to introduce you to the youngest, most recent father in our congregation. Stephen Foust, come up. As we said in the hallway while we were, this is the lesser half of the Foust family. And also, there was a special request to take some of that love offering and buy diapers. I don't know how happened. Very good.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Stephen Foust. Great to be with you all today to share a few words from another area of ministry that's been near and dear to Dennis's heart, which is young families. And as Kim mentions, I swear I have a family, they're just not here right now. My wife Kimberly sends her well wishes with our 7-day-old baby, Abigail. And Joy is somewhere around here trying to consume all the chocolate in church. So, I had the pleasure of knowing Dr. Foust for almost the entire time that I've been in Charlotte. So I moved in summer 2011. That was just a few months, I think, after you had taken the pastor here. And throughout all that time, we bonded very quickly over our mutual roots in Show Me State, Missouri, our love of the St. Louis Cardinals, and complex feelings towards Texas Baptists at times. But we, as life has gone on, we've only grown closer. And so throughout all these milestones, Dr. Foust has been there. When it came to spending time together doing premarital counseling, Kim and I spent hours trying to build as strong a foundation as possible in his office. When Kim and I sat at an altar and said vows before God and before man, that was officiated. It was blessed by Dr. Foust there front and center. And then a few years later, when we gave our small baby to Dr. Foust, it just floated around the congregation, saying, the little head hopping around and saying hi and introducing itself. But also, we were entering into that covenant with all of y'all. So special, unique. We're just one family out of the hundreds over 50 years that Dr. Foust has blessed, has mentored, has been a pastor to. And that has been incredibly special. So when we think about impact and legacy, we certainly can think about the homilies, the sermons, the writings, the preaching side. We can think about the pastoral side, the number of hospital rooms and living room couches and phone calls. And we can think about the administrative side, 1 or 2 deacons meetings and then committee meetings that have been dutifully attended. But when I think about the impact of Dr. Foust, I think about the number of families that he has helped start. And about the, and the number of people that, when they look at their wedding videos, they see Dr. Foust in front and center. So, Dr. Foust, thank you. From those of us that have young families, thank you for, excuse me, a little, not so much, a little emotional. Thank you for helping start so many marriages, so many children's journeys with love and encouragement. We appreciate that. So it's you and Paula in y'all's next chapter. Thank you. We wish you all the same blessings and happiness and love that you've shown to us all these years. And just thank you for being such a big part of our lives. So yeah, thank you. Congratulations.
I think you now understand why today is going to be a little different than when you normally see Ken and me up here. Like we thought, well, we'll just do our normal shtick, and we'll come out here and Ken will wear high heels and wear his midriff, and I'll put on a ball gown and that sort of thing. And it would be our typical kind of presentation to y'all. And we pass the plate once, twice, or 3 or 4 or 5 times until y'all gave us enough money to get off the stage. But that would not have been appropriate for us to be today. And initially, when Pauline told us we had to be really nice today, I said, you really got the wrong folks. We're more into roasting than toasting. So there might be a little sauteing, but there ain't going to be much roasting today. In that vein, we'll move right along. And the next presentation is going to come from the craft class. The fact that we have 3 presenters, Angela Carnes, freshman, Sally Young, and Wick Jackson shows you the loss of one of our recent saints. It takes a lot to fill the giant shoes of Jack Warren, who ran the craft class forever and ever on in. So we honor her today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Very much. Can you hear me? Yes. On behalf of the St. John's Needle Ministry, which is what we call ourselves now, it's really my honor to present to Dennis a handmade Afghan that various members of our group worked on and put together. I want to just say before I kind of describe the blanket and let them show it off to you, how much I've appreciated Dennis and Paula's years with us. Paula was one of the best bosses I ever had when I worked with her over at Memory Center. And Dennis has been so integral to our family, from funerals to weddings to counseling to you name it. It's been a great 15 years, and we're really going to miss you guys. Don't stay gone long. Sally and Suzanne are going to show you it. As you look at it, I want you to remember the saying, many hands make light work. Because our group made this Afghan for you by hand, stitch by stitch, and panel by panel. From picking out and purchasing the yarn to deciding on the pattern, knitting each panel, crocheting orders, and assembling the panels to final washing, blocking, and sizing, our group members all contributed their talents, their time, their support, their opinions, and their encouragement to get this done. I want to ask everybody that's in the needle ministry, I think most of you are right in that area, if you just stand up for a second so everybody can see who you are. And I'll remind you that we meet on the second Thursday of every month here at the church. And we would love to have some of you guys come and join us. If you want to learn to knit or crochet or sew or do anything having to do with handwork, you just let us know, because we're always happy to teach. I want
want you to know, Dennis and Paula, that there are a lot of wonderful memories, lots of love and appreciation for you for your 15 years with us. They're all captured in every stitch of this blanket. And now it goes with you as a reminder of the impact that you've had on so many of our lives. We thank you and we wish you every blessing in your retirement.
All right, moving on. Be careful. Oh, man. You know, I think of the Needle ministry. I think of Needle. That sounds like something my wife needles me all the time. We don't ask that you laugh. We just want you not to release too much. You still have your gowns
Yes, oh yes.
and your swimsuit?
Oh, well, yeah.
You know, there's 300 people here today, and they took a vote, and 3 said for us to dress up, the other 200, whatever, said not to. So that's the reason we're here. All right, something called WOC. You know what a WOC is?
I live with the walk.
Okay. Next presenter from the Women of the Church, Joanne Compton.
You can have recliners with me. The women of the church would like to present to you this framed photograph of our beautiful church. It was not to this building that you were called to serve, but instead it was to the people of this building, the congregation, and here where we meet to work and serve together. It is the place where for 15 years you led us and taught us about receiving and sharing God's love. You led the people of this church with vision, counseled us with wisdom, and loved us with a father's heart. We women in the church particularly wanted to choose a photo that showed the banners. Those banners helped to focus your vision for us, to guide our ministry and our fellowship, and to proclaim to the city of Charlotte the true message of the loving, living God. When you look at this photograph, we know that your heart will be filled with memories. We hope that you will also remember and know that the people of this church, St. John's Baptist, love you and are grateful for the many differences that you have made in the lives of us and in the city of Charlotte. And that your wise, caring, and visionary leadership have blessed us all. Please know that we will be praying for you as you continue your journey. Thank you, and thank God.
Our next presenter is some of y'all may not know. He's one of the fresh faces that Dennis brought in. Actually, Lee, of course, is the one of the original staff members who was here when Dennis began his pastorate with us. And as usual, I think Dennis was a little concerned about some of the staff in some of their sartorial splendor, and no one better exemplified that than LG. But one of the great things that Dennis did was to make us all feel comfortable on a Sunday, and I forgot what you call this, but Dennis introduced a tradition to us called Humor Sunday, and it was the Sunday after Easter, and it was the Sunday that we were supposed to celebrate, wear bright colors. I actually got and it was to poke fun at Satan because he had lost the battle, because Jesus had been resurrected. And it was a day for all of us to have fun and to celebrate the humor of that. And a lot of us try to be funny all the time. Dennis knows set a bar pretty high that day because the garb that he wore that day, for those of you who were there, I'm sure you all remember, and I don't know whether you wore it at any of your prior churches or not, but given the tenure that you had at Chase West, I'm sure you didn't, because we tried to run him out. What he showed up in that day was a navy blue suit, very similar to the one that Lee has, on a little darker, but it was actually a Pac-Man suit. And all over this suit were little yellow dots, just the little energy pills that were all over it. And the little waka 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 it didn't move, but it might as well have. And the little ghosts were climbing all around it too. And it wasn't just the coat; it was the whole schmear. You had it was all the suit, and it had the Pac-Man theme all over it. So, I mean, it was something that was so hideous. Even Bart Cardella would not wear it. Anyway, and so Dennis opened us up to lots of things, and that really thought about you, Lee, but I'm going to tell that story, so I decided to use you as my foil to do that.
Yes, as was just mentioned, one of the things I think that Dennis emphasized and really improved here at the church was the facilities. The banners out front were a visible sign, not just that looked nice, but that sent a message as well. But that occurred in other ways. We got new carpets, which the Habitat crew had scratched the old ones, and we were warned not to do that with the new ones. I don't think people remember, we had a hard time. I don't mean this bad, but getting rid of the house that International House was in. We loved their ministry, we wanted to support them. That house was falling down. We finally figured out, Dennis finally pushed that through, and that was something that had been on our radar for years. So thank you for getting that done. He paid great attention to facilities and how they influence your attitude and your mindset. For me personally, he helped me with organization. I finally, instead of month to month, I finally got out a yearly calendar to let everybody know what was coming the entire year. And then one thing, we've always done mission trips forever. We've always done in-town mission opportunities. That's just a part of the fabric of our church. So in the summer, we had summer camp for all the youth, and we had a high school mission trip forever. And Dennis encouraged me to come up with something for the middle schoolers. And so we had to figure out, how to do that. But that's where we got the in-town mission trip was put together. That way they could do mission. They wouldn't be too far from home if they needed something, and that sort of thing. And that's been one of the best things for the youth ministry that he helped to encourage was the in-town mission trips. We put all those together and put them in a trip. So thank you for encouragement with that. And in piecing that whole trip together, it kind of laid the groundwork to actually be able to do that. And this was a challenge to do a same type trip up in New York City. But we got that done. Dennis came on pretty much all the mission trips, but I know in particular he liked the New York City ones and enjoyed having them, except for the one night of ice cream. Dennis loves ice cream, and we were supposed to have a devotional, and he said, "How about some ice cream in front of the kids?" Which we then had to do, but then there was no time for devotion. We got that sorted out. And of course he liked the baseball games there as well. And then the last few years enjoyed just going on visits and having lunches with Dennis and going places, sometimes in retirement communities, and spending time doing that. Working on families that are grieving, going there together, planning funeral services and that sort of thing. But I think some of the things that I appreciate the most was just when we would be in your office with all the books that were everywhere, just whether we were discussing baseball, life, a previous church, or situations, or other things that's come up. I just enjoyed having those real conversations with you in your office. So thank you for your time here. I appreciate how you've helped me to grow, and bless you going forward, and you too, of course, Paula. You get taken for granted like pastors' wives do, but thank you for your giving of Dennis to us. Thank you.
Takes a lot to love Lee Gray and Dennis Desmond. I want to introduce Caleb and his family. Caleb, stand up. Have your family stand up. We're so glad that you are here. Caleb is a minister at the congregation on the other side of the street, Park Road, Baptist, Methodist, something like that. Baptist and Baptist are all the same according to your dad. All right, the next representative, David and I really kind of labored over this before you come up, is that you really want another lawyer to talk to you today. Stan, you've got 1.5 seconds to go.
Well, very quickly, Dennis, I need you to come down here, please, for just a moment. In the 103 years of this small outpost of God's kingdom called St. John's, we have performed the rite that we're about to. Only this is the 7th time. That 103 years, we've had 6 prior senior ministers. This is the 7th. And we memorialize those leaders throughout our history by a gallery of portraits of all our senior ministers. It's upstairs in the hall leading from the sanctuary to the chapel. This will join it soon, and I would like to present it to you and to Dennis at this time.
All right, now, what am I bid for this?
If he drops it, he's going to be renamed. His new name will be Mud.
Our next speaker needs no introduction to the Foust family. And I'm going to try to do an introduction, and there may need to be more added to this. But this is Mike Harton, for those of you who do not know Dr. Harton. And he holds a very special place, as I've learned, in the hearts of Dennis and Paula. Because when they went to seminary, Dr. Harton made him part of his family. And I think that sort of is the way that Dennis has been a pastor to us. He learned that obviously from his dad, but he also honed those skills because of the outreach that Dr. Harton did to him. So thank you for coming with us today, and whatever walks you have today. We appreciate it on that.
Thank you very much. Dennis was my graduate fellow at Southern Seminary. Graduate fellow means general flunky. professors chose students who were good students, who were responsible and trustworthy, and they did a lot of menial work. But sometimes they also graded, and sometimes they would do a little teaching. I was so confident in Dennis that he taught classes for me anytime I was out of town. Paula and Dennis became good friends, and they babysat our boys when we were gone. And boys were so comfortable with them that once when we were gone for 3 days and nights, we got home, and our oldest son was playing on the floor. We said hello, and he looked up and said, "Oh, hi, how was the movie?" We've been through a couple of rough spots with them when they lost one of their twins while they were in seminary. And I'll never forget being out in Southwest Virginia at a conference, driving home late one night, when Dennis called me to tell me that he'd been asked to resign from the pastor of a large church in Atlanta. And I pulled off the road, and we talked for a good long while. Both of us finally agreeing that it was pastor's insecurity, not Dennis, that was the problem. In fact, the pastor was eventually asked to leave not too long after that. Dennis was not the only one who was let go. Tom Leland, another competent minister who was also let go. And both he and Dennis became very successful pastors, fortunately for you. Vaguely remember what you're facing. It's been a long time. For about the first year, you're going to wake up in the morning and start thinking about all you've got to do. And then you're going to realize you don't have to do anything. You're going to remember things that you didn't quite get to, and you'll feel a little panic. And then you'll relax and say to yourself, that's somebody else's problem. All I can say is enjoy. Believe it or not, the best is yet to come.
Ken, did you hear last Sunday? Were you here last Sunday for preaching?
Yeah.
What did you hear? What Dennis said at the very end of the service? But did you know what he really wanted to say instead of his traditional shalom?
Oh, you mean what shalom really means?
Yes.
He said, deal with it. It meant a lot to me that day.
You've heard that most of your life, is that what I'm saying? You know, I mean, we've celebrated Dennis a little bit. We need to celebrate Paul just a little bit. And as many of us know, certainly Ken's wife Debbie, not mine, Ken, but Ken's wife Debbie knows that she's long-suffering, and there's no question about that. Paula has been long-suffering, being Dennis' spouse for at least 6 or 8 years. She looks so beautiful. It's hard to believe they've been married as long as they have. But you know, there were no laws in Indiana or Kentucky or Missouri. Dennis stole her away. When I first met the Foust as a couple, Dennis shared with me a picture, I think, of some gathering at Paula's family's house, and Paula was wearing what I used to call hogwashers. I don't know what they are, but they were like little tiny bit overalls with shorts on, you know. And she was like 12. And as someone who married a child bride myself, I can appreciate that. That's why I was. But you know, Ken, how is it that Paula has survived all this time with Dennis as her spouse?
I think that's easy. It's selective hearing.
On a similar note, who do you think, Ken, that will not be us? Who will benefit the most from Dennis's retirement? Certainly will not be our church, but who do you think will benefit the most?
Oh, there's no doubt Paula will.
And why would you say that?
Well, why in the world would you want to listen to 2 or 3 times Dennis giving the same sermon at the breakfast table? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the star of the program today. Prettiest one. Find out, look, there you go. Find out you must be at least, 35. Okay.
Well, I am briefly going to just say thank you to all of you. I'm blessed that you were part of our journey and will always be woven in the fabric of our lives. And we love you all. And Rachel is going to speak briefly on behalf of Rachel.
Okay, I don't know why you asked the one that cries most, but okay. So I wrote something. Okay. As most of you know, I've had the unique experience of being both the preacher's daughter and, let's be honest, sometimes the guinea pig for his sermons. I can't tell you how many times I would sit in the pew and think, wait a minute, is he talking about me right now? Spoiled alert, he usually was. But here's the thing, Dad. Every lesson that you shared, whether from the pulpit or across the dinner table, stuck. You have taught me and so many others that faith isn't something we talk about on Sundays. It is in how we treat people, how we give without expecting in return, how we keep showing up even when it's hard. You have lived your sermons more than you have preached them. You showed us what it means to love people unconditionally, to serve selflessly, and to laugh often, even when things don't go the way we planned. You set an example not just of what a pastor should be, but what a dad, a husband, a friend, and a neighbor should be. The impact that you have made, it stretches far beyond this church or any of the other churches where you've served. There are people in this room and countless others that we'll never meet whose lives are different because of your words, your prayers, and your willingness to put them first. On a personal note, thank you for showing me that living a life of purpose doesn't have to be flashy or loud. It just has to be faithful. Thank you for showing me that it is okay to laugh at yourself and sometimes at your kids, and for proving that integrity and humility never go out of style. So today, while you may be retiring from the pulpit, I know you're not retiring from your calling. Because this, your heart, your faith, your example, it's not something that you can ever hang up because it's who you are. We are so proud of you, we love you, and we can't wait to see how God uses you in this next chapter. We love you.
We have a special presentation now by James, but so we didn't get James up here. Don't stick around. Well, James, don't you know anything? I'm never going to turn the mic over to you quite on cue. You know that. But one thing that got missed today, because obviously Caleb and Mary Beth were in ministry earlier today, but Brother Nathan got singled out during the sermon, just so you know. Rachel obviously just got singled out. And I didn't want to let you feel like you were left out in this situation, because I have one story that I need to tell you. We all remember, it's been 2 years ago, whenever it was, that the Reverend Foust had a little issue that proved he did have a heart. He had to be, it was a remarkable Sunday. I still remember that Lee Grace told us during service that Dennis had this little heart attack. Not to worry about anything. It was like, and we went right on with the service that day. And then we had to get surprising to us. We had to get supply preachers, and that's when you go to somebody who's got some ex-pastor who's got a gigantic barrel and they just start, my partner knows what I'm talking about. They just reach in there and use one that they've used, 4 weeks ago at some other church in another state. But we had a special way to fix that because Caleb was just up the road. And I remember the Sunday that he preached here, and I heard this story later on. I didn't hear it that day. I wish I had. But when he wheeled into the parking lot to park to come preach, Dennis, of course, and this will come as a surprise, I know, to Rachel and to Nathan, that Dennis wanted to check on Caleb, make sure he was going to be here, that he's going to be okay. And so he called and asked Caleb, where was he? Caleb said, I'm on 5th Street, Dad. I'm right here. He said, well, you need to do this and this and this, and began to tell Caleb, who had been in the pastorate now for several years, and finally Caleb sort of said, Dad, I got this. And that should ease all of our minds. It should ease Dennis and Paula's mind because, we got this. And that doesn't mean that you don't worry about your children, all of us. Doesn't mean that you're not concerned about their welfare. But you prepared us like you prepared your children. And we've got this, and they've got this. So that's the good part. All right, now, Jay, now you're up.
First, I have 2 announcements. I'm sure you all enjoyed the wonderful lunch. There are some leftovers packaged. If you want, go through the kitchen pass-through. I'll have some packaged leftovers you can take with you. Also, the flowers and the vases, someone at each table can take that with you and enjoy that. Not the balloons, but the flowers and the vases, so help yourself to that. Well, we have celebrated with Dennis and Paula, and we appreciate all that's been said today, but many more people have words of gratitude and love to share with these remarkable people. This beautiful box contains letters and notes expressing thanks from your many St. John's friends and family and people who were not from St. John's but are still friends and family. We love you both for the extraordinary faithfulness and wisdom and grace you shared with us. Your compassion for St. John's and its mission has guided us through seasons of joy and sorrow and challenge and change. You've led us with vision, rooted in love for this community and in God's call for us. Although Dennis has been more visible as our pastor, Paula's hospitality and warmth and strength have supported both Dennis and this church, and you've left a lasting impact on our community. We're profoundly thankful to both of you for your ministry and your friendship. So thank you, Dennis and Paula, for sharing your lives with us. May your next chapter be filled with peace, joy, and the same love you've poured into this community. God bless you both.
You notice that Reverend Foust has not owed either one of us, David.
I'm not blind to that, yes.
Because of the nice gifts. Okay. He's still kind of a smart aleck, you know that? All right, now, we're not done with a couple of presentations. I know it's time to go. This Foust thing's getting old to everybody. 51 years. A couple things that David thought he and I ought to give to the Foust before we send them off today. You've had so many nice special gifts. We've got a couple special gifts for you as well. Keep in mind, God loves everybody now. You might have heard the story where the Foust sold their home about a year ago now, thinking they'll make more money before the new administration came in. I don't know why they did. But nevertheless, you might have heard a story that I heard one time that when they moved out and for the first sale, the sale fell through because Dennis left so many nail holes and potholes in the wall. Now, we have a great concern that he's going to do the same thing in his office. So Dennis, one of the things that we've gotten for you, David and I, is a can of spatter.
one other thing that sort of shows that Dennis is always thinking of others is that you may remember back in kinder, gentler times when there was a change in the presidential administration, when one president left office, he often wrote a note for his successor, left a letter in the drawer of that gorgeous desk in the Oval Office. And my recollection is that when H.W. left that letter for Bill Clinton, obviously after a very tough campaign, and there was a lot, that was a highly charged campaign, and H.W. being the man of grace that he was, wrote a letter and left it in the drawer. And that was the beginning of the friendship between H.W. Bush and Clinton. You know, they worked closely together on a number of initiatives after that, and that really was the kind of thing that used to happen in a prior life for us. And so Dennis, I think, is aware of that story, being on first name basis with Bill. And so he asked his staff if they would do sort of the same thing, if they would leave notes, because he's going to do this, for whoever the successor will be, if he would leave, if they would each, one of the staff people would leave a little note, sort of just giving him advice, or maybe telling him, you know, something about the church, or perhaps which ones of the parishioners they should avoid, you know, those kind of things. And so we'll start, and I happened to see these. I was in Dennis's office the other day, spackling nail holes, and I saw that Carissa had left her note, and it was lengthy, several pages long, but the title was, "Do as I say, not as I do. Sermon brevity is a blessing." And that was just not a funny tip apparently, but that was just a tip that came from Carissa there. Noel also had slid his note in there. I saw this one. And Noel left a note called "Grooming Tips for Facial Hair." And he knows something I don't know about who's coming next, but if the bearded lady doesn't show up, we may be in trouble. I did sort of ask Noel about that. I asked him about that today, and I said, you know, do you have any other thoughts? And he said, well, David, I had begun working on a book about a year ago that was called Samson, the Biblical Case for Long Hair. But he then decided to cut that one short. But not surprisingly to all of you, the most thoughtful, scholarly, and ponderous of the notes that were left was from the Reverend Gray. And it was simply titled, as there are so many things about me, very simply, it was simply titled, "The Underappreciation of the Word Long." Let's hope that these gifts from the staff are appreciated by our next pastor, whoever she may be. But I have one little gift that I had to give, and it was a trouble for me. For those of you from out of town, I'm a lawyer here in town, and so I've got to breach a little bit of the attorney-client privilege, because Paula called me several months ago, and she wanted to discuss Dennis's retirement, and she said, you know, I think maybe we should increase Dennis's life insurance policy. And that's just a cautionary tale, because I learned later on that you know, Dennis doesn't know how to swim, and Paula's pretty darn insistent that they get that swimming pool right there. So just in case that happens, or that there is an issue with that, Dennis, I got you this, which is a floaty that will hold Dennis there in his soon-to-be buff state. In the middle of a baseball glove, he can float around the pool, safe and sound there. It was supposed to be blown up, but between the lawyers and the pastors, there just wasn't enough hot air to go. So Dennis, now we'll turn it over to you for what it says our closing remarks.
Well, thank you for everything.
Chattanooga, the Shades Crest, and Second Ponce remnant. And so we appreciate all of you. The two things that I really do want to say to you. Stan, thank you for all the work you did on the portrait. I know this was something that you took so seriously. It was, you have been such a good friend, and this I know was an act that you cared deeply about, and you did it so well. That's a younger man. And thank you for that. But just thanks for all the detail that you gave to that effort. You are going to be just fine, and I'm glad that that was acknowledged. You not only will be fine in terms of this in transition, but when the new minister comes in, the staff that is here, again, Amanda does things between the gaps. You know, that sign in England on the train, you mind the gap. It's like that's her mission statement. She sees a gap and she fills it. She just does it. The staff, they are caring, they're wise, they are detail-oriented, and yet big ideas don't get past them. Lean into them and work with them and trust them, but care for them as well. And the other thing that I wanted to say to you is that it's important that your residential partners that work in this building, they really do want to know you. I mean, you can't stop by every time you're in the building, but sometime if you go by the Shepherd Center in the chapel, or you go up the third floor of Charlotte Family Housing, you stop by one of the other groups in the building now and then, the AA and NA groups and all those things. Just let them know that you see them as partners in ministry. And that's a wonderful way. I'll promise you, this is a model of church that's going to expand around this country. Because churches have so many spaces, oftentimes, that are unused. And so to partner with groups that are building a better world is exceedingly important. And you're way up on that. So I need to call, I don't know who I need to call up here. Jason, you're chair of personnel. Phillips, you're chair of the diaconate. So I need to call them up. I need y'all to come on up. But before we do that, I need to say this. There is one person, besides all these others that have been mentioned who helped all this weekend happen, Paula has done so much. And I've asked Matt Comer to help me with something. He's about to make it happen now. There's a fellow named Ken Needham. Some of you may have heard of Ken. Ken is a blind singer, pianist, musician who travels the country, travels the world for that matter, and Ken's now in his 70s, he's a good friend, and he likes to write songs, and he will be in a conference. We've had him in conferences before, where at the end of a conference session, Ken Needham just goes to the piano and he's written a song during that session, and he just performs the music and all. So I reached out to Ken and I said, for 49 of these 50 plus years, Paula's been my spouse. She's been the associate pastor I ever had. Would you please write a song for me? And write it as if it's from me to her, but also from you, Ken, and from others. He said, I will do that. So you can imagine a blind Ken Needham sitting at his keyboard in San Francisco, and this is what he did.
Family, friends, and church folks, I'd like your attention, please. I'd like to pray a prayer of thanksgiving as we walk on down this road. For the love who lives among us, flesh and bone and spirit. She loves and reads and learns with us. Oh, a friend of God. time I'm gonna tell you with a banded eye, lover and confidant, associate, pastor and friend. Yes, I love you, Paula, with a love that will not end. I see you running, gorgeous on that sandy beach. I see you swimming with abandon on the waves. And now I see you in earnest conversation with someone who's broken heart, longing to be saved. Hey, hey, Paula, I love you big time. Now I'm gonna tell ya in rhythm and in rhyme. Lover and confidant, associate, pastor and friend. Yes, I love you, Paula, Paula, with a love that will not end. And now I see you with our growing children, teaching them the way of love, truth and honesty. I see how you dig in when church life gets spicy, and I revel in the courage that you impart to me. And when I wake up on a day full of challenge, so many fires to be put out before the whole thing falls apart. You're my travel guide and teacher, you're a preacher for the preacher. Come on, let's face those troublemakers with healing hope and heart. Hey, Paula, love you big time, sure I do. This time I'm gonna tell you, in rhythm and in rhyme. Lover and confidant, associate, pastor and friend. Yup, I love you, Paula, with a love that will not end. Pages are turning in the book of our lives. In these years I want to know you like I never have before. Let's work and play together. Let's love and laugh together. Let's treat every golden day like a brand new open door. Hey, Paula, I love you big time. This time I'm going to tell you in rhythm and in rhyme. Lover and confidant, associate, pastor and friend. Yes, I love you all with a love that never
David Erdman. They could not be here today, and so they had a weekend with grandchildren. And so they took us to dinner 3 weeks ago, and he presented us with a pamphlet on sayings, quotes from sermons over these years. And it was sort of set me back. I had no idea anybody was listening. Especially for all that time. All right, Jason and Phillips. This week, or in the next few days anyway, the computers and telephone will be all switched off. The phone switched off already. The computer will be. This microphone represents pulpit ministry. I hand that to you, Chair of Diaconate. Some of you don't know this. Phillips is one of the grandsons of Claude Broach. Claude, for whom this room is named, was senior minister here from 1944 to 1974 and was the last pastor to retire in 1974, 51 years ago, the year that I started in ministry, that I went forward and made my commitment in 74. Claude retired. And so we've come full circle, my friend. Jason, these are my keys. I'm out of the office. All 8,000 books are out. All the files are out.
Holes are spackled.
Holes are not spackled. My last actually delegation is to Ken Benton, if he would please prepare those. I'll leave it. Debbie developed that. The only thing I still have to do, my son-in-law, Dave, took the robe a while ago. I think I've returned the books that people that loaned to me in this room a while ago. And the only other thing I have to do is go by the pulpit and pick up this morning's manuscript. And in that notebook, there are 2 announcements of birth. They were announced as rookie baseball cards. They are Hannah and Grace Harmon. And I carried them this morning simply so I would remember this church's future is in the hands of these. So all you rookies get to it. You have the keys. You have the pulpit ministry. Love you. Shalom.
Lunch is adjourned, but if you've traveled and our family and friends who travel, we're going to see Maggie. She's going to organize some of us for